Greetings fellow guitar travellers, it's Rowan J Parker here once again with another episode of Judge Shred, I Am the Law. In this week's Judge Shred we've got some absolutely awesome uber stretch arpeggios to show you, which are based on the incredible playing of Mr. Shawn Lane. And these arpeggios are, to be honest, freaking impossible, because Shawn was probably one of the best electric guitar players who's ever lived. But we'll attempt to play them and see how we get on. Before we show you today's awesome lick, I would like to encourage you to head on over to my website, which is www.rowanjparker.com, and there's a whole ton of cool guitar stuff on that site. A lot of it is free and you can download backing tracks and so on, and there's also a shop where you can buy things if you like. So let's get straight down to it. Today's uber awesome augmented Shawn Lane inspired arpeggios. Wish me luck and let's rock! Okay, so let's get into showing you this absolute monster. So there's three things we need to consider, and the first thing is of course the linear stretched out triad augmented arpeggio. So we need to learn to play that first of all before we do anything else, and then the second thing we need to do is learn the pattern of 9, and the last thing we need to do is learn the descending pattern of 7. Whoa, it's a beast. Alright, well let's try, okay? So, let's go over the fingering and the fret numbers for the actual augmented arpeggio. Okay, so starting on low E10, index finger, second finger reaches across to low E14, and then the pinky reaches to low E18, okay? So, we've got major third in between each digit, so it's really maximum stretch. And you can see the way I'm having to sit with the guitar to manage this, it's almost vertical, so it's quite far away from my normal playing position. I just wouldn't be able to do it there because I'd have to reach over the guitar far too much. So the guitar is almost completely upright. And the first thing we need to try and manage is try and play this arpeggio, this triad, across all 6 strings, just as is. Which is extremely difficult just in and of itself. If you're not careful, the index finger is going to start creeping in one semitone and you'll end up with a minor. You'll end up with a minor instead of the augmented, so watch that one. You've got to keep the hand at full expansion all the time. Alright, so parallel, we just play the same shape on all 6 strings, right? Yep, parallel triad. Should be fairly obvious if you can do the stupendous stretch. Not a difficult idea. Alrighty, and if you feel very brave you can try it with pull-offs too. Oh, it's a killer. My goodness me. Alright, and so now let's get into the next part, which is the ascending 9s. Okay, here are the 9s then. This should be a very familiar pattern to those of you who have watched some of my other videos. Very straightforward idea. All we're going to do is we're going to ascend up 3 strings, which is 9 notes, and then we go back a string, and then go up another 9 notes, and again, and again. So call it 9s because it's groups of 9. Alrighty. However, I will give you the verbal tab just to be ultra sure. So it's low E 10, 14, 18, A 10, 14, 18, and D 10, 14, 18. So there's our first 9, and then here's the second 9. We've got A 10, 14, 18, D 10, 14, 18, G 10, 14, 18. And there's the second 9. And then here's the third 9. We've got D 10, 14, 18, G 10, 14, 18, and B 10, 14, 18. So there's our third 9. And the final 9 is going to be G 10, 14, 18, B 10, 14, 18, and high E 10, 14, 18. The final 9. And then we just stick it all together. So we've got and hopefully we can play it up to tempo. Whoa, beast. Alright, and that is the 9s. So now let's crack along and look at the descending and then ascending pattern of 7s. Okay, so let's go ahead and teach you the 7 pattern now, which again, if you watched any of my other videos, quite a familiar pattern I think. but nevertheless we'll show it to you. Sounds like this. I'll pick every note to begin with, just so you can clearly hear all the pitches I'm playing, and then we'll talk about fingering, articulation and so on. Alright, so here we go. Okay, so that's the descending part. It's 7 on E, B, G, D and A, but then only 5 on the low E, because I'm going to turn the whole thing around. Okay, so let's look at the fingering a little bit here. So it's the same fingering we've been using up to this point. So we've got finger 4, finger 2, 1, 2, 4, 2, 1. And just to remind you, it's articulated with one downstroke, and the rest is left hand. Okay, and it's the same thing on each string. So with 5 on the low E. So let me just be totally precise about it and give you exactly what the tab is, verbal tab. Okay, so it's high E 18, 14, 10, 14, 18, 14, 10, and then B 18, 14, 10, 14, 18, 14, 10, G 18, 14, 10, 14, 18, 14, 10, D 18, 14, 10, 14, 18, 14, 10, and then A 18, 14, 10, 14, 18, 14, 10, then 5 on the low E, so we've got 18, 14, 10, 14, 18. Alright, and that's the descending part. Then we turn the whole thing around and we ascend, and it's still groups of 7, but it's ascending 7 this time, so the ascending part is going to be and at the end it's another 5. So you can see that I do 5 when I turn around, but the interior strings, middle 4 interior strings, it's all going to be 7s. Alright, so let's show you exactly what the ascending part is then. So we've got A 10, 14, 18, 14, 10, 14, 18, D 10, 14, 18, 14, 10, 14, 18, G 10, 14, 18, 14, 10, 14, 18, then B 10, 14, 18, 14, 10, 14, 18, almost there now, high E, 10, 14, 18, 14, 10, and it finishes on the D eventually. Okay, so that's the ascending part of the 7 run. So let me just put the whole descending then ascending 7s together for you at a slow pace so you can have a listen, pick up how it's done. Oh, I think I played too many on the high E string, but you get the idea. So that's it. That's all 3 elements covered. We've covered the shape, we've covered the 9s, we've covered the 7s. So all that remains to do now is stick this all together one more time at our monster shreddo tempo and see what you think. Alright, so let's do it. Whoa, beast. Well, that does it for another episode of Judge Shred, and my goodness, that was ridiculously challenging. So good luck with it, but remember, it's Judge Shred, and here's the law, apparently. If you'd like to get in touch with me otherwise, apart from visiting my website, which is www.roundjparker.com, you can find me various other places. I'm on Facebook. I have a Facebook page, Rowan J Parker, which you can like if you like. I'm on SoundCloud, Rowan-Parker. I'm also on Twitter, which is @RowanJParker. And I'm on YouTube, of course, which you're watching right now. YouTube channel is Rowan J Parker. So thank you very much for your attention. It was a blast, but this one was an absolute killer. So I'm going to do something a bit easier next week, give my poor old hand a rest. Alright, awesome. I'll catch you next time for another episode of Judge Shred. Farewell!